This is Changemakers with Katie Gore, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
I'm back again with Changemaker Scott Short, the CEO of RiseBoro Community Partnership. RiseBoro has developed thousands of affordable housing units, including single-family homes, scattered site rehabilitations, and large mixed-use developments. In part one, Scott, we talked about RiseBoro's innovative conversion of an empty hotel into affordable housing apartments for low-income and formerly homeless New Yorkers. This first-of-its-kind collaborative project undoubtedly posed many logistical challenges. Could you describe some of those issues you face in repurposing this hotel and how your team managed to address some of those?
Yeah, I think the fact that it took 3+ years after the program was first created by the state for a developer to really figure out how to use it speaks to many of the challenges that we had to face. The first was the identification of the hotel asset to begin with. So even though there were many opportunities for underutilized hotels when the program was created, tourism rebounded pretty quickly, and that combined with the city's use of hotels for temporary shelter for homeless individuals and for migrants meant that the opportunity where there was an abundance of underutilized hotels quickly changed to where many hotels were now at full capacity and their owners were not looking to convert them. So finding that right hotel where the owner was willing to sell at a price that was workable for affordable housing conversion was the first challenge. Also, the requirements of this program meant that the hotel had to be in a residential district, which is unusual for New York City. Most hotels are built in commercial or manufacturing districts. And then finding a hotel that with good enough bones and generous enough layouts where the cost of converting it would not be prohibitive, where we could basically convert hotel rooms into studios and still have them meet minimum room size and other habitability standards, all presented a challenge in terms of both identifying the right hotel for conversion and then designing it optimally so that it could be both acquired and converted within the very tight budgetary constraints that we have as affordable housing developers. So those were all kind of the initial challenges, and then just working through a new financing program, new innovations that RiseBoro and Slate together we're trying to create. Being the first out of the gate to do something always means it's more challenging, especially working with government. Getting everyone comfortable with kind of a new model just takes some more time. And so it took a lot of persistence, a lot of creativity, and a lot of innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. But we were eventually able to get it across the finish line.
Well, I'm glad that you tackled some of those pioneering calluses to make that happen, because what an opportunity there to redevelop an existing facility and provide new housing. Are you seeing people in other cities or other parts of the city who are now kind of more apt to tackle that, or is this still kind of you're the first one in that space?
Yeah, I think in New York City, people are still digesting. We only got to construction closing just a few weeks ago. So we're just getting started in terms of the physical conversion itself. And I'm fielding a lot of questions from colleagues about how we put it together and what the financing model looks like. But I hope it's a model that people learn from and replicate. But I think it's still too early to tell just how common this model is going to be able in order to be replicated. New York City is a very unique market and has unique opportunity and unique challenges that don't always map onto the rest of the country very well. But I do follow housing innovations in the other parts of the country, especially cities that are facing the type of homelessness challenge that we're facing. And I think there is some exciting work going on elsewhere that hopefully we all affordable housing practitioners can learn from. And I hope that people in other parts of the country can take at least pieces of what we've done with the Baisley Pond hotel conversion and find a way to apply that to the challenges happening in their cities.
So let's talk about another unique and innovative concept under your leadership, that RiseBoro's budget has more than doubled to become one of New York City's providers, one of the largest providers of holistic community-based services. Tell us what holistic community-based services means to you guys and why that's a facet of your delivery model.
So the theory of change of RiseBoro is that poverty does not exist in a vacuum, that the causes of poverty are very complex, and therefore, in order to solve poverty, you need a holistic set of interrelated services and resources to give people the tools that they need to lift themselves out of poverty and overcome some of those systems that are designed to keep people poor. So for us, it all begins with housing and begins with a safe and stable place for people and their families to build their lives from. But it also requires other sets of services that can really meet people where they are and address whatever need they may be facing that is a challenge to their housing stability, that is a challenge to their educational attainment, that is a challenge to their employment opportunities. We try to address any need that someone in a marginalized community might be facing, and either provide the service directly through RiseBoro programs or through our network of partners and providers that fill in those gaps that RiseBoro doesn't yet fill. So that's really what holistic community service means to us, and that is the comprehensive impact model that we try to recreate as an organization, but also in microcosm in each of the projects that we build.
One of the strategies I read about RiseBoro was that you guys want to make sure that zip codes do not determine outcomes in a resident's life, whether it's health or housing. And that's a common theme that we see even at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. You know, a lot of people talk about the zip code shouldn't be the indicator. How are you guys incorporating that into your business delivery model? Like, what strategies do you have? Is it some of this community holistic based services, or other programs that you guys do to watch for that and remedy that?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. One is about building really high quality housing with wraparound holistic services in marginalized communities. And that's kind of what we've been doing for 50 years. And through that kind of work, we are able to help raise the tide of that standard of living and that neighborhood development standard that kind of lifts all boats within those marginalized communities. So that's kind of strategy one, is building high quality projects with high quality services in marginalized communities. The second strategy is really about finding ways to build affordable housing in high opportunity neighborhoods where they may not have a lot of affordable housing. That leads us to pursue projects in areas that already have a strong network of quality schools and quality jobs, quality services, and building affordable housing there means that we don't have to work as hard on the service side to create some of those wraparound supports because they already exist. And in those cases, we're really just trying to locate affordable housing where it may not exist, and therefore give the residents of that housing more opportunity to enjoy the benefits of living in a zip code that has that strong set of supports already built in.
So I'm kind of listening to your descriptions here about what RiseBoro is doing and that 22 years of experience and wisdom that you're providing in a very complex city and market. I can't help but think about ways that maybe your own personal values and passions have been shaped by what you're doing. Do you care to reflect on some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I started the interview by talking about how I got into this job out of a desire to help people and to find a way to give back to this community of Brooklyn that had taken me in and offered me so much. And I think that is still what drives me day to day. One of the challenges that I've experienced personally as I've ascended through the ranks at RiseBoro and am now in the CEO role is you do get a bit distant from the mission on the ground that initially attracted you to the job. So whenever I have an opportunity, I like to get out to our sites. I like to get out to our projects. I like to meet our tenants, meet our clients, meet people in the community, and really through those interactions, really get a sense of the emerging needs that exist out there, how we can develop programs and solutions to meet those needs, and really try to stay connected to the mission on a very visceral basis, which can be challenging in an administrative role as I am currently, but it still is the most rewarding part of the job for me to have that connection to the mission on the ground, and I try to make time for that whenever I can.
The words community partnership are in your title. So do you have tips and techniques on the best way to incorporate new development or even renovations as substantial as you've mentioned within a community?
Yeah, so I think really the spirit of a community partnership is about asking questions and listening to the responses from people on the ground, local people, and then shaping your projects and your programs based on the needs of those people who you have been able to solicit through community outreach. So I think it's about building relationships in community, and that starts by showing up, asking questions, and then really listening to the answers, and then being willing to shape your work around what you learn from those interactions. And so I think it is putting yourself out there and showing yourself to be a willing participant in the community development process, and then also standing by your word and doing what you say you're going to do, and being accountable to the community. So I think all of those factors go into our notion of what it means to be a community partnership. And I think we're very driven by community need. We're accountable to community need. And we have a number of systems and processes built in to our development process that ensure that we really are guided by the community and accountable to the community.
Community development is just hard. I mean, people remember when things don't go well. It's sometimes driven by emotion and not factual. And it's just a really hard process. So, what would you recommend to people, developers, housing authorities, nonprofits who are listening to this, when they're coming up against those hard moments and those obstacles? How would you advise them to work through that and incorporate the community? You mentioned asking questions and listening. Are there other more tangible ways, like how to conduct some of those outreach programs, or just, tell us some of your experiences there?
People want to feel heard. So that's the listening part. But even more than that, people want to feel empowered, and they want to feel like they have agency over their own environment. And so oftentimes the frustration that you can experience in the community development process occurs when people feel like decisions are being dictated to them and that they don't have the agency over how to control their own environment. And so I think wherever possible, it's incumbent on us as community development practitioners to empower the community and build in real decision-making power and real agency into community people and bodies that represent the community, whether those are community boards or tenant associations or other structures that exist to give voice to community needs. It's incumbent on us to find ways to not just listen to the information coming out of those interactions, but to really make sure that those interactions carry the power of influencing decisions that are made through the community development process, and then that we're also accountable to those voices in the end product. And I think all of those taken together, making people feel heard, giving them real agency and decision-making power over their environments, and then coming back and saying, hey, did we do what we said we were going to do? That can start to build a positive relationship with community residents who oftentimes are very understandably skeptical about the development process when it first comes into their communities.
Well, you guys are doing a great job at providing solutions to some of New York City's most pressing affordable housing needs. So we appreciate that, and full speed ahead as you guys work through that pipeline. It's very impressive and innovative. It's been great having Scott Short, the CEO of RiseBoro Community Partnership, with us. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Katie. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Changemakers with Katie Gore. To find out more about Katie, go to quadel.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.